Why don't we start right off your reaction to the verdicts today?
I think they reached the right result. I think that Amber Heard was caught in so many lies when it was all said and done. It was impossible to believe her. And as I said on my show this afternoon, before the verdict, you know the Latin phrase, which has appeared in many jury instructions, falsus in uno, falsus in omnibus, meaning if the jury thinks you lied in one thing, they can decide that you've lied in all things. And that was her biggest problem. It sounds to me like they didn't believe anything. They didn't believe her abuse claims. They didn't believe anything she said from the way I read this verdict form. But it could also just be that they caught her in so many lies that they just determined there wasn't enough proof to support her claims and that it was more likely than not she lied. And while the jury gave her one victory on one of her, she had 3 statements she claimed were defamatory toward her that she was suing over, awarding her $2 million, and he got 15 against her. Don't make any mistake about it. She lost. This was a complete rout by Johnny Depp. No one's even going to remember that she recovered on this one small statement, which doesn't really speak to the truth of her overall claims against him. It was sort of a throwaway statement that was made by Depp's lawyer about whether she messed up their penthouse to make it look more nefarious to police. That's all. They found that she was not telling the truth and that she's basically spent the last several years trying to ruin Johnny Depp. Total victory for him.
Does she get anything serious out of the fact that the chyron on the bottom of a lot of television screens, the one half line chyron, says that they both libeled each other? Does that any recompense at all?
Not a chance, because you can't get past his first 3 counts. I mean, what they said in his claim against her is that she maliciously made up abuse claims, domestic abuse and sexual abuse claims about him, published them in the Washington Post, and then went on to lie about them under oath on the witness stand. It's done. That's it. That's what happened today. They gave her a throwaway on some sort of invented fancy tale that his lawyer told about why their penthouse was a mess one night. That's it. That's all they gave her. In no way did they say, but he did abuse her, a little bit, or here, or like maybe it wasn't sexual violence, but it was domestic violence. No, they didn't say it. They said she is a liar. She made up these abuse claims, and she's been torturing him for years, maliciously. It's not a split verdict, and any journalist or press organization that spins it that way is lying.
What do you think happens next? Let's assume for the moment, not just that, as you say, I think it's undeniable, this was a great victory for Johnny Depp, period, exclamation point. What becomes of her now? Well, what do you think her future is with the jury having come in so definitively as they did?
I think she's professionally ruined for the time being, and I'm not sure whether she comes back from this, even in a town that's very liberal and that would be much more in the knee-jerk, I believe all women camp. The problem for her in Hollywood is not that a jury has said what it's said. The problem for her in Hollywood is the nation watched this trial and they decided she was a liar and he was a truth teller. The public watched this thing gavel to gavel. So they got to make up their own minds. And yes, they were manipulated by the press. And yes, they saw YouTube mashups that the jury didn't see and all of that. But they had the opportunity to decide with her in the court of public opinion if that's how they were feeling. And in watching her testimonial and so on, they didn't. So Hollywood, before it's woke, these days has got to be somewhat business-minded and capitalist. And there was already a petition with, I don't know, between 3 and 4 million, maybe it's more now, to get her booted out of the next Aquaman sequel. They don't want to see her. She's come to represent more than a woman who falsely accused a beloved actor. She's come to represent all women who women and men feel have made false accusations. Now, that's unfair, but that's where we are. And that's why I say she's probably unemployable.
And what do you think becomes of him now? Is he Has he moved beyond superstar into another realm because of this?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's gone from being the scourge of the press and some in Hollywood and, losing opportunities because of what she alleged. Because they made a good point on his team at trial. This wasn't just, like she had, this claim had been out there. That's why she posed for TMZ back in May of 2016 when she filed for the restraining order. And she put these claims in a legal document back then claiming she was the victim. So, it had been out there. But it's quite another thing to see it in the first person in her Washington Post. It's not like she posted it on, TMZ. This is her speaking to America directly, saying he sexually and otherwise abused her. So there's no question he was hurt by that, for sure. And now he has been vindicated. Those claims have been thoroughly evaluated by an American jury, whereas, the defamation standard is very, very high against a public figure. And he's been vindicated. So he should see exactly the opposite trajectory than she's going to experience. And I think people are going to revel in that because they think he's been wrongly maligned.
You know who else or what else I think has been hurt by this? It's the American Civil Liberties Union.
Yes.
Who sat and wrote that op-ed piece. I mean, after all, for all the testimony about that which happened, what the jury has found occurred and the like, to me, certainly, one of the striking background, but still significant aspects of this is that she didn't write this op-ed. She got help, a lot of help. She got drafting from the ACLU, who either was persuaded that she was telling the truth, and a jury has now said that is just wrong, or because of very major contributions that she'd made.
Yes.
Affected their judgment. Well, one way or the other, the 16th article about the case, and in my world, that matters because a lot of what I do has to do in one way or another with civil liberties, and their role, I think, in retrospect, will not be viewed well.
No, they don't stand for them anymore. They're not on the side of civil liberties. What happened to, this wasn't a criminal case, but a presumption of innocence, or at least giving the defendant the chance to tell his side of the story? Yeah. Did they bother to probe what the evidence was at all behind her claim? Did they bother to find out whether Amber Heard had a history of domestic violence of her own? And, by contrast, Johnny Depp had none. They wanted the check. And she was able to buy it, their support for less than she told the world she was paying the ACLU. And they wanted to look like they were on the side of what they presumed was the victim. The knee-jerk, believe all women response from the left since the Me Too movement got started has been a pernicious force in this country. And, I think the ACLU is going to be made to suffer for that, even by some of the left who, in the same way, we're seeing some pushback now from many liberals who think that the crazed free speech crackdown has gone too far. I think a lot of liberals are starting to come around as they see their boyfriends or their husbands or their sons wrongly accused or thrown out of school or, sort of castigated without proof. They're starting to see that this thing overreached and some pushback was necessary.